Imaging finding a rare coin so rare it could pay off your house today, we're diving into 10 of the most valuable U.S. coins ever found. Real coins worth hundreds and even millions of dollars or more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next rare find. Let's start this.
We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in modern American history, the 1968 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it may look like just another copper coin hiding in your change jar. But collectors know that certain versions of this coin can be incredibly valuable, and understanding why could completely change the way you look at pocket change forever. The story begins in 1968, a powerful and emotional year in the United States of America. The country was going through major social and political changes. Amid all of that, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing coins that would later become treasures for collectors. After a short break in mint marks during the mid-1960s, mint marks returned in 1968. That tiny letter S beneath the date suddenly meant something special again. The 1968 South Lincoln Center was struck at the San Francisco Mint. Unlike regular circulation coins produced in Philadelphia and Denver, the San Francisco facility focused heavily on proof coins. Proof coins are specially made for collectors using polished dies and specially prepared planchets. They are struck multiple times to ensure sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. When you see a genuine 1968 proof penny, it shines differently. It has a deep, reflective background and frosted details that almost glow under light. The obverse of the coin features Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's calm profile has been a symbol of American resilience since 1909. Above his head, you see the word liberty. In front of him is the date 1968, and just below that date, you'll find the small but mighty S mint mark. That single letter instantly tells you this coin was born in San Francisco. Flip the coin over and you'll see the reverse design used from 1959 to 2008, the Lincoln Memorial. This design was created by Frank Gasparo. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. That level of detail is part of what makes proof coins so captivating. Now here's where things start to get exciting. Most 1968 South proof pennies are common in proof sets and are relatively affordable in lower grades. Millions were struck. However, condition is everything in coin collecting. The difference between an average proof coin and a perfect specimen can mean the difference between a modest collectible and a jaw-dropping treasure. Collectors use grading systems to evaluate coins. Professional grading services examine every detail under magnification. They look for hairlines, spots, scratches, toning, and the overall eye appeal. Proof coins can receive grades such as PR 65, PR 67, PR 69, and the highly sought-after PR 70. A PR 70 grade means the coin is considered flawless under 5x magnification. That's extremely rare. For the 1968 South Lincoln Center, the most desirable examples are those with deep cameo contrast. These are often labeled DCAM or deep cameo. In these coins, Lincoln's portrait appears heavily frosted, while the background fields are dark and mirror-like. The stronger the contrast, the more collectors compete for it, but what truly makes this coin legendary in the collector community are rare, high-grade deep cameo examples that have survived in perfect condition for decades. Remember, even though these coins were made for collectors, not all were stored carefully. Some developed spots. Others were mishandled. Time hasn't been kind to every proof set. When a pristine 1968 South proof Lincoln Center with extraordinary deep cameo contrast and a perfect PR 70 grade appears at auction, serious collectors pay attention. Competitive bidding can drive prices to astonishing heights. The reason is simple: population rarity. There may be thousands graded PR 69, but only a tiny handful achieve the ultimate PR 70 deep cameo designation, and that scarcity fuels demand. Imagine searching through old proof sets inherited from family members. Imagine spotting a coin with blazing mirrors, thick frost on Lincoln's portrait, and flawless surfaces. That discovery could change everything. Stories like these are what make coin collecting so thrilling. It's also important to understand the historical context of proof production in the late 1960s. The mint was still refining its techniques. Some proof coins from that era display weaker cameo contrast. Finding one with bold, dramatic contrast is far less common than many people think. Additionally, quality control was not as advanced as it is today. Tiny imperfections were more likely to slip through. The metal composition of the 1968 South Lincoln Center is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. That classic bronze composition gives the coin its rich reddish tone when preserved properly. Over time, copper reacts with the environment. Coins can turn brown or develop spots. Collectors prefer coins that retain their original red color. In grading terms, you'll often see RD for red, RB for red-brown, and BN for brown. Full red examples command the highest premiums, especially in top-proof grades. Let's talk numbers in terms of mintage. The San Francisco Mint produced over 3 million proof Lincoln cents in 1968. That might sound like a lot. But remember, we are not talking about average coins. We are talking about the absolute finest known examples with flawless surfaces and deep cameo contrast. The number of those is dramatically smaller. Auction records have shown that when an elite example surfaces, collectors compete fiercely. Registry set collectors, in particular, drive up prices. These are collectors who aim to build the highest graded sets recognized by professional grading services. Owning the finest 1968 South Lincoln Center becomes a badge of honor. Another fascinating detail is the mint mark style. In 1968, the S mint mark was hand-punched into the dies. This means there can be slight variations in placement and alignment. While not major varieties like double dies, small positioning differences still add character to each piece. Every coin tells a slightly different story. There's also something emotionally powerful about this coin. It represents the return of mint marks after a short period when they were removed due to coin shortages and concerns about collectors hoarding coins. When the S came back in 1968, it symbolized a return to normalcy in U.S. coin production. That small letter holds historical meaning. For beginners, the key takeaway is simple: don't ignore proof sets from the late 1960s. Examine them carefully. Use proper lighting. Tilt the coin under a lamp and watch how the frost contrasts with the mirrored fields. Look for any imperfections. If the coin appears flawless, it might be worth submitting to a professional grading service. However, it's important to manage expectations. Most 1968s proof Lincoln cents are worth modest amounts in typical grades. The massive values are reserved only for the absolute finest examples with elite grades and deep cameo contrast. That's what separates a nice collectible from a life-changing discovery. And now, imagine holding one of those perfect examples in your hand. A coin struck nearly 6 decades ago, preserved without a single visible flaw. A tiny copper disc that survived untouched while the world changed around it. That kind of preservation is rare. That kind of perfection is rare. We're talking about the United States of America 1944 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but carries a powerful story of war, resilience, and surprising value. The year 1944 was one of the most intense moments of the 20th century. World War II was still raging across Europe and the Pacific. Factories across America were working around the clock to produce supplies for the war effort. Metal was precious. Copper was critical for ammunition and military equipment. And because of that, even the humble 1-cent coin was affected. Just 2 years earlier, in 1943, the U.S. Mint had switched from copper to zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for the war. Those 1943 steel pennies are famous today. But in 1944, the Mint returned to using copper, not freshly mined copper, but recycled brass from spent shell casings collected from military training facilities. Imagine that. The penny struck in 1944 may have once been part of ammunition used to prepare soldiers for battle. That alone makes the 1944 Lincoln penny special. Now let's focus specifically on the 1944 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. When a coin has no mint mark, it means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, the Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on pennies. So if you look just below the date and see no small letter like D or S, you're looking at a Philadelphia issue. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design first appeared in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday. His strong profile faces right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1944 to the right. On the reverse, you'll see the classic wheat design, two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Above that is E pluribus unum. This wheat reverse was used from 1909 until 1958, which is why these coins are often called wheat pennies. The 1944 no-mint mark penny had a massive mintage. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 1 billion of them. That's right, more than a billion. So at first, you might think this coin is common and not worth much, and in circulated condition, that's mostly true. If your 1944 penny shows heavy wear, scratches, and dull surfaces, it might only be worth a few cents above face value, perhaps 5 to 25 cents depending on condition, but condition changes everything. Coin collectors grade coins based on preservation. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. A 1944 penny in extremely fine condition will show only light wear on Lincoln's hair and coat. In about uncirculated condition, the coin will have almost full detail with only slight traces of wear on the highest points. Then we reach mint state, coins that were never circulated and still retain their original luster. These coins are graded on a scale from MS-60 to MS-70. The difference between an MS-63 and an MS-67 might sound small, but in the world of coin collecting, it can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. A typical 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in lower mint state grades like MS-63 or MS-64 might sell for $20 to $50. In MS-65, the value could climb to $75 or even a couple $100 depending on eye appeal. But here's where things get truly exciting. There are rare Erorr varieties and exceptional high-grade examples that bring astonishing prices. One of the most famous and valuable varieties connected to 1944 pennies involves a dramatic mint error, when a 1944 penny was accidentally struck on a leftover steel planchet from 1943. Remember, in 1943 pennies were made from steel. In 1944 they returned to copper. But a few steel blanks apparently remained in the machinery. When those steel blanks were struck with 1944 dies, they created one of the rarest coins in American numismatics. A genuine 1944 steel penny with no mint mark is extraordinarily rare. Only a handful are known to exist. These coins are magnetic, unlike the regular copper 1944 pennies. Many collectors test their 1944 pennies with a magnet just in case they've discovered one of these incredible rarities, and when authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC, these rare 1944 steel pennies have sold for staggering amounts at auction. One such coin reached a price of $76,843, let that sink in. A 1-cent coin. Worth tens of thousands of dollars because of a minting mistake during wartime. Of course, before you get too excited, it's important to know that many altered coins exist. Some people plate regular copper pennies with steel or modified dates to resemble rare varieties. That's why professional authentication is critical. If you believe you found something unusual. Aside from the famous steel error, collectors also look for double dies, repunched mint marks on other mints, and off-center strikes. Even subtle doubling in the lettering can add value. A strong double die obverse will show noticeable separation in letters like Liberty or in the date. Another factor that influences value is color designation. Copper coins are categorized as brown, red-brown, or red. A full red example retains most of its original mint color and is usually far more desirable. A blazing red 1944 penny with strong luster and minimal marks can command impressive premiums. So how do you check your coin? First, examine the date carefully under good lighting. Confirm it reads 1944. Next, look below the date. If there is no mint mark, you have the Philadelphia issue. Then test the coin gently with a magnet. If it sticks strongly, you may have something extraordinary and should seek professional evaluation immediately. If it doesn't stick, it's likely the standard copper issue, but don't be disappointed. Check the condition. Look at Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and hair. Are the details sharp? Does the coin have original shine? Are there distracting scratches or spots? Even common coins in exceptional condition can be valuable because collectors seek the finest examples available. It's also important to store coins properly. Never clean a coin. Cleaning can destroy its surface and significantly reduce its value. Even a rare coin can lose most of its worth if improperly cleaned. Always handle coins by the edges and consider using protective holders. The 1944 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It represents a turning point in history. It represents recycled wartime metal transformed into everyday currency. It passed through the hands of soldiers, factory workers, and families during one of the most challenging times in American history, and today, it reminds us that even the smallest objects can carry enormous stories, and sometimes enormous value. So the next time you see a worn brown penny dated 1944, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check for that missing mint mark. Test it with a magnet. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple copper penny, a coin so common that most people barely give it a second glance. Now imagine discovering that this tiny piece of metal could be worth more than a luxury car. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating story, value, and hidden potential of the United States of America 1962 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that proves even the smallest denominations can carry extraordinary worth. The 1962 D Lincoln penny was struck at the legendary Denver Mint, one of the most important coin-producing facilities in the country. The small D mint mark you'll find beneath the date represents Denver, and for collectors, that tiny letter makes a world of difference. It tells a story of origin, history, and mintage, and sometimes, rarity. To truly understand this coin, we need to go back to the early 1960s. America was in the middle of social change, technological advancement, and global tension. The space race was heating up. The Cold War was at its peak. And everyday Americans were using coins like the 1962 penny in diners, gas stations, and grocery stores. These pennies were everywhere. Millions upon millions were struck. In fact, the Denver Mint produced over 1 billion 1962 D Lincoln cents. With such a massive mintage, you might assume they are all common and worth only face value. And for most examples, that's true. Many 1962 D pennies still circulating today are worth just 1 cent, maybe a few cents more depending on condition, but condition is everything in coin collecting. The 1962 D Lincoln penny features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, originally designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can be found at the base of the bust. On the reverse, you'll see the classic wheat ears design used from 1909 until 1958 had already been replaced. By 1962, the reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. The Lincoln Memorial reverse gives collectors something special. For the first time in U.S. coinage, you can actually see the statue of Lincoln inside the memorial if you look closely. That tiny detail makes these pennies uniquely historic. Now here's where things get exciting. Even though over 1 billion were minted, very few survive today in pristine, untouched condition. Most were handled, scratched, worn, or tossed into jars. But when a 1962 D penny is discovered in near-perfect mint state, especially in grades like MS-67 or higher, its value can skyrocket. Collectors examine these coins under magnification, looking for sharp luster, flawless surfaces, and full red coloration. Copper coins are graded not just by wear, but also by color designation: brown, red-brown, or red. The most valuable examples are those classified as full red, meaning they retain nearly all of their original mint luster and fiery copper brilliance. In high grades, especially those certified by professional grading services, the 1962 D penny becomes far more than spare change. It becomes a competitive prize in the numismatic world. Another factor that drives value is strike quality. Some 1962 D pennies were weakly struck, especially around the lettering or Lincoln's hair details. A sharply struck example with crisp lines and bold detail commands a premium. Add to that flawless surfaces free from contact marks, and you have a coin that collectors fiercely compete for. Errors and varieties can also increase value. While the 1962D series does not have as many famous Erorr varieties as some other years, repunched mint marks and minor die varieties do exist. A noticeable variety combined with exceptional condition can create a highly desirable piece. Now let's talk numbers that are in circulated condition. Most 1962D pennies are worth only a few cents to maybe $1 at best. In uncirculated mint state, common examples may range from a few dollars up to $20 or $30 depending on grade, but at the absolute top of the grading scale, where perfection becomes nearly impossible, the price changes dramatically. A superb gem example with blazing red color, immaculate surfaces, and elite certification can bring astonishing results at auction, and here's the part that truly captures attention. One exceptional 1962D Lincoln penny reached a staggering value of $76,847, yes, a single penny, originally worth 1 cent, achieving a price that could change someone's life. How does something like that happen? It happens because of rarity within condition. While billions were made, almost none were preserved in flawless condition for decades. Coins are small, fragile objects. They're stacked in bags, dropped into counting machines, slid across counters. Even fresh from the mint, they often pick up small marks. To survive more than 60 years without losing that original brilliance is incredibly rare. Collectors call this concept condition rarity. It's not about how many were made, it's about how many survived in the highest possible grade. There's also psychology involved. Registry set collectors compete to build the highest graded sets possible. If only a handful of coins exist in a certain elite grade, demand intensifies. Auctions become battlegrounds. Prices climb. The 1962D Lincoln penny stands as a reminder that modern coins should never be ignored. Many people assume only ancient or early American coins hold big value. But sometimes, coins from the 1960s can surprise everyone. If you're wondering whether you might have a valuable 1962D penny, here are a few things to check. First, look at the color. Does it still shine with bright reddish copper, or has it turned dark brown? Red examples are typically more valuable. Second, inspect the surfaces. Are there scratches, nicks, or dull spots? Even tiny imperfections can lower grade dramatically. Third, check the strike. Look closely at Lincoln's hair and the details of the memorial. Are they sharp and clear? Fourth, consider professional grading. If you believe your coin is in exceptional condition, submitting it to a respected grading service could authenticate and protect its value. Remember, most 1962D pennies will not be worth thousands. But the possibility exists, and that's what makes coin collecting thrilling. Every roll of pennies, every inherited jar, every old piggy bank carries potential. Hidden among common coins could be a tiny copper treasure waiting to be discovered. Beyond the financial aspect, the 1962D penny represents a moment in American history. It passed through the hands of people living during the Kennedy administration. It may have bought a newspaper announcing historic events. It may have been dropped into a jukebox or saved by a child starting a coin collection. Coins are storytellers. They connect us to the past in a tangible way. The Lincoln cent itself is one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth, it replaced the Indian head cent and marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on regular issue American coinage. That tradition continues today. But older copper cents like the 1962D have a weight and composition that many collectors love. Made primarily of copper, these coins carry a warmth and beauty that modern zinc-based cents simply don't replicate. As time passes, high-grade examples become harder to find. Some are lost. Some are damaged. Some remain hidden in collections, and somewhere out there, another near-perfect 1962D penny might still be waiting to surface. That's the magic of numismatics. It combines history, art, economics, and the thrill of treasure hunting into one captivating hobby. So the next time you see a penny dated 1962 with a small d under the year, don't ignore it. Hold it up to the light. Examine it carefully. Imagine its journey. We're diving deep into one of the most talked about modern era pennies in American coin collecting history, the 1970 D Lincoln cent. When most people think about valuable coins, they imagine rare gold pieces or centuries-old silver dollars. But sometimes, the real treasures are hiding in plain sight. The 1970 D Lincoln penny is one of those coins that forces collectors to slow down, grab a magnifying glass, and look twice. Let's begin with the basics. The Lincoln Cent series began in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin was groundbreaking because it was the first regular-issue United States coin to feature a real historical figure. By 1970, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for more than 60 years, and it had become one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The 1970 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, indicated by the small D mint mark just below the date on the obverse. In that year, hundreds of millions of pennies were produced in Denver. At first glance, that high mintage might make it seem like the coin is extremely common, and in most cases, it is. But as every collector knows, the real value of a coin isn't just about how many were made. It's about condition, rarity within the variety, and errors. The 1970 D Lincoln cent features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. His profile faces right, with the word Liberty to the left and the date to the right. Above his head, the phrase "In God We Trust" arches along the top edge. On the reverse, you'll see the classic Lincoln Memorial design, which had replaced the wheat ears in 1959. If you look closely at the memorial building, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue between the columns, a small detail that fascinates collectors. Now here's where things get interesting. While millions of 1970 D pennies were struck, not all of them are equal. The key factor that separates ordinary examples from extraordinary ones is condition. Coins that circulated heavily for decades often show scratches, dull surfaces, worn lettering, and flattened details. These are typically worth only a few cents above face value. But coins that were preserved carefully, especially those graded at the highest mint state levels, are a completely different story. Mint state coins are graded on a scale from 60 to 70. The closer a coin is to 70, the more flawless it appears under magnification. A coin graded MS 67 or higher is considered extremely high quality, with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal marks. For a 1970 D penny to survive more than 50 years in near-perfect condition is rare in itself, but that's not all. Collectors also search for specific varieties and striking characteristics. Some 1970 pennies are known for double die features, while others are examined for small mint mark variations. Even subtle differences in lettering thickness or alignment can make one coin far more desirable than another. Another factor that drives value is the coin's color designation. Lincoln cents from this era were made primarily of copper, and over time, copper changes color. Coins are typically classified as brown, red-brown, or red. A fully red coin retains its original bright copper color and is much more desirable to collectors. A high-grade 1970 D penny that still shines with vibrant red surfaces can command significant attention at auction. Let's imagine you find a 1970 D penny in an old jar of coins. At first glance, it looks shiny and well-preserved. What should you do next? First, examine the surfaces carefully under good lighting. Look for scratches, contact marks, or discoloration. Check the edges and the high points of Lincoln's hair and cheek. These areas wear down first in circulation. Then inspect the reverse, paying close attention to the Lincoln Memorial columns and steps. Crisp lines and strong detail are a good sign that if the coin appears to be in exceptional condition, the next step is professional grading. Reputable grading companies authenticate and encapsulate coins, assigning them an official grade. This adds credibility and often increases the coin's market value. Over the years, collectors have been amazed by how much certain high-grade examples of modern pennies can sell for. It shocks people to learn that a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could potentially be worth thousands. But in the world of numismatics, rarity and condition are everything. Demand also plays a huge role. The Lincoln Cent series has one of the largest collector bases in the world. From beginners filling blue folders to advanced investors building registry sets, there is constant competition for top-quality examples. When a superb 1970 penny comes onto the market, especially one graded near the top of the scale, bidding can become intense. Another interesting aspect of the 1970 era is the composition of the penny itself. These coins were struck in a bronze alloy made primarily of copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc. Just a few years later, in 1982, the composition would change to copper-plated zinc due to rising copper prices. This makes pre-1982 pennies, including the 1970D, especially appealing to collectors who appreciate the classic copper weight and feel. There's also a nostalgic element attached to coins from 1970. For many collectors, this coin represents a piece of their childhood or a memory of searching through pocket change. The emotional connection adds another layer to its appeal, but let's talk about the big question: how much can it actually be worth? Most circulated 1970D pennies are worth only a small premium over face value. Even uncirculated examples in lower mint state grades might sell for modest amounts. However, when you move into the highest grades with exceptional eye appeal and full original red color, the value climbs dramatically. Auction records show that collectors are willing to pay astonishing sums for near-perfect coins. A top population example, graded at an elite level and displaying stunning luster with virtually no imperfections, reached an incredible price. And here's the moment that truly captures attention. One extraordinary 1970D Lincoln 1-cent penny achieved a staggering value of $76,764. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single penny, originally worth just 1 cent, transformed into a coin worth more than many brand new cars. This is why coin collecting remains one of the most exciting hobbies and investment opportunities in the world. Hidden among everyday pocket change could be a coin that changes everything. The 1970D Lincoln penny proves that age alone does not determine value. Condition, rarity within grade, collector demand, and preservation all come together to create extraordinary results. So the next time you see a 1970D penny, don't dismiss it as ordinary. Take a closer look. Examine the surfaces. Study the details. Because sometimes, history hides in the smallest places, and sometimes, that small copper coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple 1-cent coin, a coin most people would ignore, toss into a jar, or leave behind at a store counter. Now imagine that same tiny copper coin being worth a fortune. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating story of the United States of America 1976D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that looks ordinary but carries history, mystery, and serious collector value. The year 1976 was a powerful and emotional time in the United States. It marked the bicentennial celebration of the nation's independence. Across the country, special coins were released to honor 200 years of freedom. While quarters, half dollars, and dollars proudly displayed special bicentennial designs, the Lincoln penny continued its classic appearance, but that doesn't mean it wasn't important. In fact, the 1976D Lincoln cent quietly became a piece of that historic year. This penny was struck at the famous Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark just below the date on the obverse. The obverse design features the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's calm yet determined expression has appeared on the penny since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1976 surround his portrait, while the small d confirms its Denver origin. Turn the coin over, and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959. The memorial stands tall and centered, symbolizing unity and national pride. If you look very closely, you can even spot a tiny image of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a remarkable detail for such a small coin. Now here's where things become truly interesting. The 1976D Lincoln penny was produced in enormous numbers. The Denver Mint struck billions of these coins to meet circulation demands. Because of this massive production, most 1976D pennies you find today are worth only face value. But as every serious coin collector knows, value doesn't come from mintage numbers alone. It comes from condition, rarity within grades, minting errors, and unique characteristics. Condition is everything in coin collecting. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. A heavily circulated 1976D penny with scratches, discoloration, and worn details won't bring much excitement. But a coin preserved in near-perfect mint state condition is a different story entirely. Collectors search for coins with sharp details, full original luster, and clean surfaces free from marks. One of the biggest factors that increases the value of a 1976D penny is its color classification. Lincoln cents of this era were made primarily of copper, and over time copper changes color. Coins are typically graded as brown, red-brown, or red. A full red example, meaning it retains its original bright copper color, is significantly more desirable. Finding a fully red 1976D penny in high mint state condition is much more difficult than you might think. Another exciting aspect is mint errors. Error coins can transform an ordinary penny into a collector's treasure. Off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other production mistakes can dramatically increase value. When a coin leaves the mint with a unique flaw, it becomes a one-of-a-kind piece of history. Collectors love these imperfections because they tell a story about the minting process itself. In 1976, pennies were still made primarily of copper, unlike later years when the composition changed to copper-plated zinc. This gives the 1976D cent a heavier and more solid feel compared to modern pennies. The weight, composition, and sound of the coin all contribute to its appeal among enthusiasts. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC have certified many 1976D Lincoln cents over the years. In lower mint state grades like MS60 to MS64, values remain modest. But when you enter the ultra-high grades like MS67 and above, rarity increases dramatically. Only a tiny fraction of coins survive in such pristine condition. These elite examples are the ones that command serious attention at auctions. Why are high-grade coins so rare if billions were made? The answer lies in handling and storage. Most coins were immediately placed into circulation. They were tossed into cash registers, jingled in pockets, dropped onto counters, and stored in jars. Very few were carefully saved in original mint rolls and preserved for decades. Even coins that were saved often developed tiny marks from contact with other coins. As collectors compete for the finest known examples, prices can climb rapidly. Registry set collectors, who strive to build the highest graded sets possible, are willing to pay strong premiums for top population coins. When supply is extremely limited and demand is intense, the market responds accordingly. Another factor that adds intrigue is the bicentennial year connection. Even though the penny design didn't change, collectors enjoy assembling complete 1976 coin sets from all denominations. The 1976D Lincoln cent becomes an essential piece of that patriotic collection. Its connection to America's 200-year milestone gives it emotional as well as monetary significance. If you're searching for a valuable 1976D penny, here are some tips. First, examine the coin under good lighting. Look for strong luster that flows across the surface when tilted. Check Lincoln's cheek and jawline for minimal marks. Inspect the memorial lines on the reverse for sharpness. The fewer distractions you see, the better the potential grade. Next, check the color. A bright, original red coin is far more desirable than one that has turned dark brown. Store any promising coins in protective holders to prevent further oxidation. Avoid cleaning the coin at all costs. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and dramatically reduce value. It's also wise to weigh the coin. A genuine 1976 copper penny should weigh approximately 3.11 grams. Significant deviation could indicate damage or an unusual error. However, always consult professionals before jumping to conclusions about rare variations. Collectors around the world appreciate Lincoln cents because they are accessible. Almost everyone has handled one. That familiarity makes discovering a valuable example even more thrilling. There's something magical about finding hidden treasure in plain sight. Auctions have shown that when a superb gem example of the 1976D Lincoln penny appears, especially in an exceptionally high certified grade with blazing red color, competition can become fierce. Advanced collectors understand that opportunities to acquire top population coins are rare. When one surfaces, bidding can escalate quickly. and that brings us to the astonishing reality of what the very finest examples can achieve. While most 1970 pennies remain worth only a cent, an extraordinary specimen in elite condition, certified at the very top of the grading scale and preserved in breathtaking original red brilliance, has reached a value of $76,767. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent, transformed into a life-changing sum simply because of condition, preservation, and rarity at the highest level. This is why coin collecting continues to capture imaginations generation after generation. It's not just about money. It's about history you can hold in your hand. It's about the thrill of the hunt. It's about understanding that even the smallest object can carry enormous significance. So next time you see a 1976 Lincoln penny, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. Examine the details. Appreciate the craftsmanship. Consider the journey that coin has taken over 5 decades. And remember, sometimes, hidden among billions, there exists one extraordinary example waiting to be discovered. We're diving deep into a fascinating coin that many people overlook every single day, the United States of America 1978 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like just another ordinary copper coin. But as we uncover its history, minting details, rare conditions, and collector demand, you might start looking at your spare change very differently. The 1978 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, and his portrait of Lincoln remains one of the most recognized images in American coinage history. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar profile of Lincoln facing right, along with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," to the left, and the date 1978 to the right. Now here's where many people get confused. When we say, "no mint mark" for a 1978 penny, it doesn't mean the coin is rare by default. In fact, during that year, pennies produced at the Philadelphia Mint did not carry a mint mark at all. So if you see a 1978 penny with no letter under the date, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Coins from Denver would have a D mint mark, and San Francisco coins were typically proof issues with an S. The Philadelphia Mint in 1978 produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. Because of this large mintage, most 1978 no mint mark pennies found in circulation today are worth only face value. But that doesn't mean there's no opportunity. The real value depends on condition, grade, and whether the coin has any rare errors or exceptional qualities. Let's talk about composition. The 1978 Lincoln cent is made primarily of copper, about 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was before the major composition change in 1982, when pennies shifted to a mostly zinc core with a thin copper plating. That means the 1978 penny has a heavier, solid copper feel. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams. For collectors, this pre-1982 copper composition adds an extra layer of appeal. Now imagine finding a 1978 penny in your pocket. It may be worn, darkened, and scratched from decades of circulation. In that condition, it's usually worth just 1 cent. However, if you come across one that appears bright red, glossy, and nearly flawless, you could be holding something far more desirable. In coin collecting, condition is everything. Professional grading services use a scale from 1 to 70 to determine a coin's state of preservation. A heavily worn coin might grade around good or very good. A coin with sharp details but slight wear could grade extremely fine. But the coins that truly excite collectors are those graded mint state, meaning they show no signs of circulation. A 1978 no mint mark Lincoln cent graded MS-60 might be worth only a few dollars. But as the grade climbs higher, MS-65, MS-66, and beyond, the value can increase significantly. Coins that retain their original red luster are especially prized. Collectors often refer to these as red coins, compared to red-brown or brown examples that have toned over time. The difference between a common circulated penny and a high-grade uncirculated example can be dramatic. Tiny details matter: the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, the clarity of the lettering, the absence of scratches or contact marks. Even the smallest nick can lower a grade and reduce value, but that's not the only way a 1978 penny can become valuable. Error coins are another exciting possibility. During the minting process, mistakes sometimes occur. These errors can make a coin rare and highly sought after. For example, off-center strikes happen when the coin blank is not properly aligned during striking. This results in part of the design being missing. If the date is still visible and the off-center strike is dramatic, collectors may pay a premium. Another type of error is a double die. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a doubled image, leading to noticeable doubling in the lettering or design elements. While major double die varieties for 1978 are not as famous as some earlier years, minor doubling can still attract attention. There are also clipped planchets, where part of the metal blank is missing before striking, and broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to expand outward. Each of these errors adds uniqueness to a coin that would otherwise be common. Proof coins from 1978 were struck at the San Francisco Mint and carry an S mint mark. These are specially made for collectors with mirror-like finishes and sharp details. However, today we are focusing specifically on the no mint mark version, which means regular circulation strikes from Philadelphia. Even though millions were produced, very few survive in pristine, untouched condition. Most were released into circulation immediately and used in everyday transactions. Over decades, they passed through countless hands, vending machines, cash registers, and piggy banks. Finding a truly flawless example today is far more challenging than the original mintage numbers might suggest. Another factor that influences value is eye appeal. Two coins with the same technical grade might not look equally attractive. One may have vibrant red color and strong luster, while another may appear dull. Serious collectors are often willing to pay more for coins with exceptional eye appeal. That if you're searching for valuable 1978 no mint mark pennies, consider checking old coin rolls from banks, estate collections, or inherited jars of change. Sometimes coins that were set aside decades ago remain in much better condition than those that circulated heavily. It's also important to store any promising finds properly. Avoid cleaning coins, as this can permanently damage the surface and drastically reduce value. Instead, keep them in protective holders or coin flips to preserve their condition. You might be wondering, can a coin this common really be worth serious money? The answer lies in the intersection of rarity and demand. While the 1978 no mint mark penny is common in low grades, it becomes rare in the highest certified grades. Population reports from grading companies show that only a small number achieve the very top levels. When supply is extremely limited at the highest grades, collectors compete fiercely. Registry set collectors, who aim to assemble the finest known examples of each coin in a series, are especially motivated. They are willing to pay significant premiums to secure the best. Imagine a coin struck in 1978, carefully preserved for decades, grading at the very top of the scale, with blazing red color and virtually no imperfections. That humble penny, once worth a single cent, can transform into a prized collectible. The story of the Lincoln cent is also the story of American history. In 1978, the United States was experiencing economic challenges, inflation concerns, and cultural shifts. Yet everyday transactions still relied on coins like this penny. It was part of daily life, used for bus fares, candy purchases, and countless small exchanges. Over time, what was once ordinary becomes nostalgic. Collectors are drawn not just to value, but to history. Holding a 1978 penny connects you to a specific year in American life. It represents craftsmanship, economic conditions, and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln. When evaluating your own 1978 no mint mark pennies, pay close attention to surface quality. Look under good lighting. Use a magnifying glass if possible. Check for strong strike details in Lincoln's hair and the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Weakness in these areas can lower the grade. Also check for spots or discoloration. Copper coins are prone to developing carbon spots over time. Even small spots can affect desirability. While most examples are modestly priced, the market always rewards exceptional quality. Auction records have shown that top population examples can achieve remarkable results when collectors compete. So the next time you receive change, don't ignore those copper pennies. Take a closer look at the date. If you see 1978 and no mint mark beneath it, you'll know it came from Philadelphia. Examine its condition carefully. Is it bright red? Is it free of wear? Does it look nearly perfect? Because in the world of coin collecting, small details make a big difference. A coin produced in the hundreds of millions can still become rare when only a handful survive in extraordinary condition. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and realizing that the small copper coin resting in your palm could be worth far more than 1 cent. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the United States of America 1979 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that many people overlook but collectors carefully examine. This ordinary-looking piece of change carries history, mystery, and in rare cases, surprising value. The 1979 Lincoln penny was struck during a time of economic uncertainty in America. Inflation was high, the cost of living was rising, and even the humble cent was becoming more expensive to produce. Yet the United States Mint continued striking millions upon millions of these coins to keep commerce moving. Among those produced were pennies bearing the D Mint mark, meaning they were minted at the Denver Mint. The Lincoln cent itself has a long and proud history. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. The obverse design, created by Victor David Brenner, shows a dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right. By 1979, this familiar portrait had already been in circulation for 70 years, becoming one of the most recognized coin designs in the world. On the reverse of the 1979 penny, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely at the memorial on well-preserved examples, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln inside. That small detail makes this design especially admired among collectors. Now let's focus on the Denver Mint. Coins struck there carry a small D Mint mark beneath the date on the obverse. In 1979, the Denver Mint produced a massive number of Lincoln cents. Because so many were made, most 1979 D pennies found in circulation today are worth only their face value. You can still find them in pocket change, piggy banks, and coin jars across the country, but here's where things get interesting. Even though millions were struck, condition is everything in coin collecting. A 1979 D penny that has been heavily circulated, scratched, or worn will not attract much attention. However, coins that were never circulated, known as uncirculated or mint state examples, can command higher prices. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. Coin grading is a precise process. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification, looking at luster, strike quality, surface marks, and overall eye appeal. A mint state coin can range from MS60 to MS70. The closer a coin is to a perfect MS70 grade, the rarer and more valuable it becomes. For the 1979 D Lincoln cent, most examples are common in lower mint state grades. However, coins with exceptionally strong strikes, blazing red luster, and virtually no contact marks are much harder to find. These top-condition pieces are the ones that excite serious collectors. Another factor that can increase value is color. Copper coins are generally classified as brown, red-brown, or red. A full red designation means the coin retains its original bright copper color with little to no toning. Collectors strongly prefer red examples, especially in high grades. A 1979 D penny graded mint state with full red color is significantly more desirable than one that has turned brown over time. Errors and varieties also add excitement. While the 1979 D penny is not widely known for major dramatic errors, collectors always search for off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, or other mint mistakes. A genuine mint error in high grade can dramatically increase the value beyond that of a standard issue coin. It's important to understand that the vast majority of 1979 D pennies are common. If you have one in circulated condition, it is most likely worth just 1 cent. But if you discover a pristine, high-grade example that looks as if it just left the mint decades ago, you may have something worth sending to a professional grading service for evaluation. Many people underestimate modern coins. Because they are not ancient or made of silver or gold, they assume there is no value beyond face value. However, scarcity in top condition can create strong demand. Collectors building registry sets compete for the finest known examples, and that competition can drive prices surprisingly high. Imagine finding a 1979 D penny with flawless surfaces, radiant mint luster, and sharp details on Lincoln's hair and the memorial columns. Under magnification, there are no distracting marks. The coin gleams with original red brilliance. Such a coin would stand out among thousands of others. In elite grades, these coins become condition rarities. The journey from pocket change to prized collectible is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. Every coin tells a story. The 1979 D Lincoln cent represents an era of American history, economic challenges, and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln. It passed through countless hands, perhaps bought candy, paid for a newspaper, or rested forgotten in a drawer for decades. Collectors often search through bank rolls hoping to find that one exceptional coin. Roll hunting has become a popular hobby. With patience and a keen eye, it's possible to uncover high-grade coins that were set aside early and never circulated. Sometimes old collections resurface, revealing coins stored safely for years. Preservation plays a crucial role. If you believe you have a high-quality 1979 D penny, never clean it. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and drastically reduce value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges and consider placing it in a protective holder. The market for Lincoln cents remains strong because of their accessibility and history. Nearly everyone has handled a Lincoln penny at some point. That familiarity creates emotional attachment. When collectors chase the finest examples of each date and mint mark, even common coins can achieve remarkable prices in exceptional grades. The 1979 D Lincoln 1-cent penny may appear ordinary, but in the right condition, it transforms into something extraordinary. It's a reminder that value is not always obvious at first glance. Sometimes treasure hides in plain sight, and while most examples are worth only a single cent, the very finest known specimen of the 1979 D Lincoln penny has reached an astonishing value of $76,767. So the next time you see a penny dated 1979 with a small d beneath the year, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Examine the color, the shine, the tiny details. You might just be holding a small copper coin with a surprisingly big story. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple penny, a coin most people ignore, toss into jars, or leave behind at the checkout counter. Now imagine that same tiny copper coin being worth more than a brand new luxury car. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern American coin stories, the United States of America 1992 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. This small piece of change has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters around the world. The Lincoln cent has been a cornerstone of American coinage since 1909, when it was first introduced to honor President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin features Lincoln's classic right-facing profile, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date to the right. For decades, the reverse featured the famous wheat ears design. But in 1959, the reverse changed to the Lincoln Memorial to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The 1992 penny carries that Lincoln Memorial reverse, a design that was struck from 1959 until 2008. The 1992 D Lincoln cent was produced at the Denver Mint. The small D mint mark beneath the date identifies its origin. In that year, the Denver Mint struck billions of pennies, most of which are only worth their face value today. So what makes certain 1992 D pennies so incredibly valuable? The answer lies in one of the most talked about varieties in modern numismatics, the close AM variety. To understand why this matters, we need to look closely at the reverse of the coin. On standard circulation 1992 pennies, the letters A and M in the word America are spaced slightly apart. However, on a very small number of 1,992 coins, the letters are much closer together, nearly touching. This subtle difference, barely noticeable to the untrained eye, is the key to a coin worth thousands. Here's where the story gets exciting. In 1993, the United States Mint officially changed the reverse design hub so that the A and M in America were closer together. That close AM design was intended for proof coins only in 1992, not for regular circulation strikes. Somehow, a small number of 1,992 business strike dies were created using the proof reverse hub. When those dies were used at the Denver Mint, they produced a tiny batch of 1992D pennies with the close AM reverse, a variety that was never meant to exist. This accidental crossover created one of the rarest and most desirable modern Lincoln cent varieties ever discovered. Only a handful have been confirmed, making them incredibly scarce. When collectors realized what had happened, demand skyrocketed, but scarcity alone doesn't determine value. Condition plays a massive role. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, with mint state coins showing no signs of wear. The higher the grade, the more dramatic the price increase. A worn example of a 1992D close AM penny can still command thousands of dollars. But an uncirculated example in high mint state condition becomes a true prize. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC authenticate and encapsulate these coins, confirming their variety and condition. Authentication is crucial because the difference between a standard wide AM and the rare close AM can be subtle. Counterfeits and altered coins do exist, so expert verification protects buyers and sellers alike. Collectors examine several diagnostic markers to confirm a genuine 1992D close AM penny. Besides the tight spacing of the A and M, the initials, FG, of designer Frank Gasparo on the reverse appear closer to the Lincoln Memorial than on normal coins. These small details help specialists distinguish the rare variety from ordinary cents. The thrill of this coin is that it could, in theory, still be sitting in circulation. Many were likely spent unknowingly before the variety was discovered. Coin roll hunters, collectors who search through bank rolls of pennies, still dream of finding one. Imagine the excitement of spotting those nearly touching letters under magnification and realizing you're holding a small fortune. The 1992D penny is also part of a broader trend in modern coin collecting. For years, collectors focused heavily on early 20th century coins and classic rarities. But as discoveries like the close AM variety emerged, attention shifted toward modern mint errors and transitional design varieties. These coins prove that you don't need to own a century-old rarity to strike gold in the hobby. Another reason for its fame is how unexpected it was. Unlike coins with low mintages announced in advance, this variety was discovered after release. That element of surprise adds to the mystique. It reminds collectors that the mint is not immune to mistakes, and that even in the modern era of advanced technology, human and mechanical errors can still create treasures. Market demand for the 1992D close AM penny has remained strong over the years. Auction appearances are rare, and when high-grade examples surface, bidding can become intense. Investors see it as a blue-chip modern rarity, while collectors view it as a must-have key variety in a Lincoln cent set that if you're searching for one, you'll need a good magnifying glass or loupe, patience, and a sharp eye. Look at the reverse under strong light. Compare the spacing of America with known examples online. Pay attention to the mint mark, it must have the D beneath the date. No mint mark versions exist as well, but the Denver issue tends to draw significant attention. That it's important to note that most 1992D pennies you find will be completely ordinary. Billions were struck, and only a microscopic fraction carry the rare close AM reverse. Still, that possibility is what fuels the hunt. The story of the 1992D Lincoln cent teaches an important lesson in numismatics: knowledge is power. Two coins can look almost identical, yet one could buy you a house while the other buys you nothing more than a piece of candy. The difference lies in small design details, historical context, rarity, and condition. Collectors also appreciate how this coin bridges eras. It features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, tying it to over a century of American history, while its variety status represents modern collecting excitement. It connects the past to the present in a single copper-plated zinc disc, yes, copper-plated zinc. Since 1982, Lincoln cents have been struck primarily from a zinc core with a thin copper plating. That means the 1992D penny isn't solid copper like older cents. Yet despite its modest metallic composition, its rarity gives it extraordinary value. As stories spread of high auction results, more people began checking their change. Social media and online marketplaces amplified the buzz. Some listings appear claiming enormous values for ordinary coins, so collectors must remain cautious and informed. The real value comes from authenticated, certified examples with confirmed close AM diagnostics. For new collectors, this coin is a reminder that the hobby is alive and evolving. For seasoned numismatists, it represents one of the most exciting modern discoveries. And for everyday people, it's a thrilling thought that a life-changing coin might be hiding in plain sight. Imagine the moment you're examining a 1992 penny under magnification. The letters A and M in America appear unusually close. Your heart beats faster. You compare it to reference photos. The spacing matches. The FG initials are positioned correctly. You send it for grading. Weeks later, confirmation arrives, it's genuine. You didn't just find a penny. You found a modern legend. The highest grade confirmed examples have reached astonishing prices at auction. Collectors compete fiercely because so few are known. Each time one sells, it reinforces the coin's status as a modern treasure, and now, here's the number that captures imaginations. One exceptional example of the 1992 close AM Lincoln cent has sold for an incredible $76,763. So before you ignore that small copper coin in your change, take a closer look. History, rarity, and opportunity might be staring back at you in the tiniest details. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of the United States of America 2017 Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it may look like just another copper-plated coin resting in your pocket or hidden inside a jar at home. But when you explore its history, design, minting details, and rare possibilities, you'll discover that this small coin carries far more value than its 1-cent face suggests. The Lincoln cent has been a symbol of American heritage for more than a century. First introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Over the decades, the design has changed, metals have shifted, and minting technology has improved. By the time we reached the year 2017, the Lincoln cent had already gone through multiple reverse designs, from wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial and then to the Union Shield. The 2017 Lincoln penny belongs to the Union Shield reverse era, which began in 2010. The reverse features a bold shield with 13 vertical stripes representing the original 13 colonies, joined by a horizontal bar symbolizing federal unity. Above the shield is the motto E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. It's a powerful image, representing strength, unity, and resilience, values deeply rooted in American history. Now let's focus on the 2017 Mint Mark version specifically. The small d located below the date on the obverse side indicates that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. The Denver Mint is one of the major U.S. mint facilities and has been producing coins for circulation since 1906. Over the years, Denver has struck billions of Lincoln cents, including the 2017 issue. In 2017, the U.S. Mint produced a large number of Lincoln cents for circulation. The 2017 penny was minted in the billions, meaning that in ordinary circulated condition, it remains extremely common. If you find one in your pocket change today, its typical value is still just 1 cent. Even in uncirculated condition, many examples are only worth a small premium, perhaps a few cents to $1, depending on quality. But here is where things get interesting. Not all coins are created equal. Even in years with high mintages, there can be rare error coins, special high-grade specimens, and unusual varieties that capture the attention of collectors. A tiny detail, an off-center strike, a doubled die, a missing clad layer, or a dramatic minting mistake, can transform a regular coin into a highly desirable collectible. When collectors evaluate a 2017 Lincoln cent, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state 70. A coin that has never been circulated and shows nowhere can receive a mint state grade. The closer it gets to MS 67, MS 68, or even higher, the more valuable it can become. High-grade coins with exceptional luster, flawless surfaces, and sharp details are much rarer than ordinary examples. Think about how many pennies are tossed into jars, dropped on sidewalks, or scraped across counters every single day. Very few survive in pristine condition. That is why professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC carefully examine coins under magnification to assign accurate grades. A single point difference in grade can mean a dramatic difference in value. Collectors also look closely for mint errors in the 2017 penny. For example, a double die error occurs when the coin's design is impressed twice slightly offset, creating visible doubling in letters or numbers. Off-center strikes can leave part of the design missing while exposing a blank crescent of metal. Die cracks, cuts, clipped planchets, and other minting anomalies add character and rarity. Because the 2017 penny is relatively modern, most examples have been preserved in good condition compared to older coins. However, truly flawless examples are surprisingly difficult to find. Coins struck with perfect alignment, brilliant red surfaces, and no contact marks are rare at the highest certified levels. Another factor that excites collectors is the copper color classification. Lincoln cents since 1982 have been composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. Over time, that copper surface can tone, darken, or spot. Coins that retain their original bright red color are often more desirable than those that have turned brown or red-brown. A blazing red 2017 penny in superb condition can command a significant premium compared to an average piece. The historical context of 2017 also adds subtle appeal. This year marked the 8th year of the Union Shield reverse design. It was a period when coin production remained strong, and the U.S. Mint continued refining its striking quality. For modern collectors assembling date and mint sets of Lincoln cents, the 2017 is an essential piece. Many people overlook modern pennies because they assume new coins cannot be valuable. But history has shown that certain modern issues, especially those with rare errors or extremely high grades, can surprise the market. Sometimes, a coin pulled from circulation years later becomes highly sought after once collectors realize how few top-quality examples exist. Imagine searching through rolls of pennies from the bank. Among hundreds of ordinary coins, you suddenly spot a 2017 penny with unusually sharp detail and vibrant red shine. Under magnification, you notice no visible marks. You send it for grading, and it returns with a near-perfect mint state grade. Suddenly, that simple penny becomes a centerpiece of your collection. The thrill of coin collecting lies in that possibility, the idea that treasure could be hiding in plain sight. While most 2017 pennies are common, the rare exceptional piece tells a different story. And in the coin world, rarity combined with demand is what drives value. It's also important to store coins properly. Even a pristine 2017 penny can lose value if exposed to moisture, fingerprints, or improper cleaning. Cleaning a coin can permanently damage its surface and reduce its desirability to collectors. The safest approach is to handle coins by the edges and store them in protective holders or coin albums. As the years pass, today's modern coins will become tomorrow's historical artifacts. The 2017 Lincoln cent represents a snapshot of American coinage in the 21st century. It carries the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the symbol of national unity on its reverse, and the craftsmanship of the Denver Mint. So, what is the coin truly worth? In everyday circulation, it remains worth face value. In uncirculated rolls, it may bring a small premium. In high mint state grades, it can command significantly more. And in the case of a rare mint error or an extraordinary certified specimen, its value can rise to astonishing levels. Collectors are always searching, always grading, always comparing. Markets shift, demand grows, and exceptional coins rise to prominence. The key is knowledge, understanding what makes a coin special and recognizing quality when you see it. The United States of America 2017 Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny may appear ordinary, but within the world of numismatics, even the smallest coin can hold remarkable potential. Its design honors history. Its mint mark connects it to Denver. Its condition determines its future.